Hello, welcome back to Retirement Clarity Radio. I am your humble host, Scott Newhouse. Really excited that you are with me for this week's episode because I am about to be your not so humble host, because recently I was quoted in the Wall Street Journal in an article that went to print on Wednesday, December 29th of 2021. A great journalist by the name of Veronica Dower had a really good idea about money tasks. Let's see if I can get this up on screen. Money tasks to take off your to-do list. And then as you see on the video, if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, wherever, I got quoted as one of the ideas that you should take off of your list of things to do in terms of your financial life. So what I want to do today is I want to talk about the 4 other ideas that were talked about in this article by Veronica, money tasks to take off of your to-do list. We are all so busy with everything that we think we should be doing, not just in our financial life, but in other areas of our life, relationship, hobbies, interests, etc., that I really think it's always a great idea to think about what can we remove from our life? What do we just not need to do? Not even, what's a lower priority, but what is just such a zero priority, we can just completely forget about it, not have to worry about it ever again. And so, again, I was quoted in this as giving one of the 4 ideas for this article. So let's go through all 4 ideas, and then Veronica has actually saved the best for last. So my idea will be last, and we'll get into that at the very end of this episode. So today's episode is going to be about 4 things we should avoid doing in 2022, as well as in the future, things you can take off of your financial to-do list. So the first idea that she got was don't rush to pay off a low interest mortgage. And let's just see what she says here. With inflation predicted to rise, paying off fixed rate mortgage debt ahead of schedule might not make sense. Elliot Pepper, a financial planner in Baltimore, encourages clients to think about putting extra money in investments that will perform better than the interest rate cost of their mortgage. That's especially true for those who have recently financed a mortgage, he said. I think that's actually really good advice. Most of the clients that I work with, especially when they get to the retirement, they love the idea of having that paid for home. And there's definitely a sense of peace and calm, and just knowing that you have no debts in the world, including your home. It really is a fantastic feeling. So you've really got to run the numbers in terms of what your retirement income and retirement expenses are, and see if this makes sense for you. But obviously, if you can make money on the spread between what you can earn in your investment accounts versus what you're paying on your mortgage, this really could be a great way for you to increase your net worth, increase those investment accounts, while slowly paying down that really low interest debt. Not for everyone, but I actually don't think this is a bad idea, and I think it's something worth considering. So that was the first idea. The second idea was don't overpay for items because, quote unquote, supplies are limited. This is another really good piece of advice. Consumers, and this is from the article, consumers might normally wait for a sale or at the very least shop around to get the price, says Bobby Rebel, a financial planner and personal finance expert at Tally, a credit card debt management app. Now, though, many retailers are putting language on their websites such as only a few left to push shoppers to click that buy button now amid supply chain shortages, shipping delays, rising inflation, etc. And so retailers are also following up with targeted emails and text messages warning us that the items that we really want to purchase, they won't be there unless you act now. Buy. And they're just really trying to up the ante in terms of, hey, this is going to be gone. It's going to be gone really quickly if you don't act now. And so this financial planner, Bobby, is saying, don't fall for that. You can shop around. You can wait. It's going to be available later if you still want it. Another great idea. Don't succumb to these external pressures that these retailers are putting on you to act as quickly as possible just to buy that item you want. It's going to be available later. So I love that as well. So 2 for 2 in terms of this great advice coming from this article. The third piece of advice is don't track your spending. I love this, especially because it's counterintuitive to what most financial planners say, what most money experts say as well. So let's just read from the article. Tracking every last dollar of your monthly spending can feel empowering at first, but it's hard to sustain like a crash diet, says Kenny Sonor, a financial planner in Denver. He advises clients to use a simpler approach, such as designating 50% of your paycheck to essentials like rent, 20% for savings, and 30% for everything else. That's a really good rule of thumb, and I would encourage that for folks, especially who have got a couple decades left until retirement. The one thing I want to add on here, though, is that if you are in retirement, I do want you to know what your overall expenses are. You've got to know your expenses as you head into retirement, because that's just going to be able to determine whether your distributions you're taking from your investment accounts, whether it's going to, draw down funds too quickly, or if you're going to make sure that there's enough money to last for the rest of your lifetime. Do you need to track every single expense? No, absolutely not. I don't think so at all. I think as you prepare for retirement, it would make sense for you to drill down into it and understand what you're spending, what you're not spending money on, what you could cut out that really doesn't add a whole lot of value to your life, what subscription services have added up that you don't even use, and then cut from there. And then in terms of your spending, I would want to have an overall idea of what you're spending on a monthly basis, but you don't need to drill down into line items of this much on groceries, this much on utilities, this much on eating out, etc. So I would focus on that overall number. You don't have to line item your expenses, but you've got to know if your expenses make sense with what you have in your investment accounts, and especially in relation to your distribution plan, which again, we've talked about on this podcast before. So I think this is really good advice. Just make sure your expenses are in proportion to what you have in your investment accounts, and everything makes sense there. So that's really good advice. And then the last piece of advice coming from yours truly is don't fall prey to FOMO. For those of you that don't know, FOMO is fear of missing out. And here is what I said to Veronica when she asked me for what financial things should we avoid in 2022 and beyond. So here's what is in the article. You may feel a pang for not owning cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin or the latest stock sparking conversations on Reddit like AMC, GameStop, etc. But don't feel the need to jump in, said Scott Newhouse, a financial planner in Tucson, Arizona. It may feel like a wise choice to get in, but chasing hot stocks often leads to underperformance in your returns, as their outperformance, the Bitcoins and the Reddit stocks, won't last forever, he said. It's fine to stick with time-tested investment strategies, such as a low-cost, well-diversified investment portfolio of stocks and bonds, he tells clients. And so that's what I contributed. And then there's one more paragraph from someone else, and it is from one of the financial planners listed above. And they said, it is a waste of time to do a deep dive into investing trends like NFTs, SPACs, and cryptocurrencies if you know they aren't a fit for your investing goals, or you just don't want to understand them. That's great advice as well. If you see all of these different things that are going on in the financial marketplace and you don't really understand them, you don't really know if you want to incorporate them into your investment portfolio, what I'm saying here is that you will be perfectly fine in your retirement if you have a traditional stock and bond portfolio, well diversified, low cost, among the US, outside the US, etc., and you have that solid distribution plan that I just mentioned before, your retirement's going to be fine as long as all the numbers make sense. You've done all your due diligence. So when you see these AMC stocks, the GameStop stocks going up 100% in a day, when you see Bitcoin getting 200% returns every year and having just massive amounts of volatility, you can say to yourself, and I would encourage you to say this to yourself, you don't need to play that game. You don't need to get into these investing fads, investing trends, in order to have a comfortable, fulfilling retirement. And that's all that I'm trying to do in my own business and on this podcast, is help you have a comfortable retirement. So you can have a comfortable retirement with less stress and making sure that you have everything that you want in retirement with that traditional, low-cost, well-diversified portfolio of stocks and bonds. The second thing that I want to point out that I told Veronica in this article was that too often, our human emotions get in the way when we see these high performing investments like the Bitcoin, like the Reddit stocks that I mentioned before. And so typically what happens, and this is where people make these big mistakes, is they see GameStop or AMC go up 100% in a week or a day or whatever, and then they get in after they've made those incredible gains. And what happens after a stock goes up 100% in a week? Well, it's going to come back down to earth. And so the mistake people make is they buy at the high, then it comes crashing down, and then it goes down, 50%, and then they've lost 50% of their money in a week, and they feel terrible about the mistake that they made. They feel terrible about investing. They stop investing entirely. They say it's a scam, it's rigged, etc. And it's really unfortunate. It's human behavior to see all these great gains and want to get into it, but that's when people make the big mistakes of getting into it at the peak, and then it comes back down to earth, and then they lose a lot of money, and they get really skeptical of investing. You don't want to be skeptical investing. You just want to invest wisely with as little emotions as possible, and trying to fortify yourself against making these big behavioral mistakes, which fear of missing out absolutely leads to. So I hope you enjoyed this article. Again, I am very excited and proud that I made the print edition of the Wall Street Journal. If you want to check it out, go ahead and search. Let's see. Search "Stop Tracking Spending and Other Money Tasks to Take Off of Your To-Do List." Again, it's in the Wall Street Journal from Wednesday, December 29th of 2021. So that's all I've got for today's episode. I hope this helped you understand that you do not need to do every single thing that a financial person tells you to do. You can actually say, hey, this doesn't really sound like I need to do it, and you can actually take it off your to-do list, make your life simpler, make your life happier, and you could probably wind up with even more money if you're able to take action on avoiding some of these things that some people say you should do. So hope you found this helpful, and I will see you next week. Bye. Thanks again for listening. As a reminder, you should consult with a financial advisor familiar with the specific circumstances of your unique financial situation before making any financial decisions. Nothing in this podcast is a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mentions of rate of return are hypothetical in nature and not a guarantee of future returns. Scott Newhouse, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Forthright Finances, a California and Nevada registered investment advisor.